Okay, good evening, everybody. 7 o'clock start tonight. Okay, we got. Hey, know what it seems? Yeah, a new start or another different time. I always change the time, so. But the second show tonight will be at 7 here. We had a good show this afternoon. If you didn't see it, bless you, Chico. Oi! Yep, tonight, different time day today again. You know me, I always change the time. We did a one show this afternoon, was pretty good. We played Nino and the decoy guy. And tonight I'm going to play an hour of You Like Carrie Cassidy? We haven't played Carrie Cassidy in a while. Come on, get up there. Come on. No, get out. There's no Billy Bean today. Amanda, who's Amanda? You gotta settle down, Chico. I'm ready to go on again, okay? Go lay down. Oh, you talk about Amanda Grace is bad? Chico, I'm getting ready to go on. Come on. Get up there. Chico. Come on now. Go. You lay down there and be good. I want to shut the window. Is that who I think it is, Lori? Buckeye Bob? My goodness. Wow, how's it going? Yep, we're still hanging in there. Today is or yesterday was actually the first of the year on the Julian calendar. So nothing happened yesterday. So day by day, intel. At least we got one big news today on the Chinese spy person, right? Spreewell. I didn't know that Gonzalez guy was in trouble too. He was a football player. He was only in office for only a few years. Oh, they do, Lori? Okay. You and you and Starfire and a few other, I think a few other ones know all stuff on that. I got two clips of Rudy with Benny. If anybody didn't see those yet. Oh, Chico. Oh, you gotta stop, Chico. No. You gotta settle down. Carol. Okay. You know what's going on. 2023 is only 21 years old. Best player in the American League. Hey. Started the season batting sixth and now batting third against full rate. What did I tell you? Stop. 2-1. He was the Tigers' #1 prospect and considered one of baseball's top prospects. 3 balls and 1 strike. And he's the subject of our DirecTV new era of stars are making their way to the big leagues. And here are some of the top 15. 5 of those 15 are in the big leagues. Connor Griffin, #1, was recently called up by the Pirates. And that's why McGonigal is not the youngest player in the major leagues. He's just the youngest player in the American League. I saw my boy out there, young Carter Jensen down there. Young Carter's catching on, by the way. I'm proud of that. Very, very Chico, look at me. The upper part of the strike zone. Tell you what, it's got some funky movement on his ball tonight. Came back down to the sink. Top of the zone, 94. Love that pitch. Now fluid and looks okay. Collins goes to the line and runs out of row and goes into the seats. Like he didn't see the wall coming. Oh man, I hope everything's all right. That wall is so small out there, just snuck up on him. You can see his eyes stayed on the ball. Starfire. Yeah, Lori was just saying about the jewelry encounter, that Epstein stuff. See as an outfielder, you don't want to take your eyes off the ball, and then all of a sudden, short wall out there. Isaac Collins too. I don't know how much he's played here in Detroit at Comerica Park. I mean, I know he was out there in BP, shacking fly balls. That is, but man, you just don't see walls like that typically in stadiums. You know, and I haven't seen him play like that, and we've been coming here since 2000, but. It appears to me to be a wider than normal warning track. Everywhere else on the field, he has plenty of steps, except in that one area because that the corner, the seats actually stick out more Yep. We'll just wait a couple more minutes here. Hopefully we get Flying Eagle and okay, and Tim's not here yet. Lucy will be in late. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Entertainment only, and or YouTube entertainment purposes, and opinions only. Lay down, Chico. All right, we got the first one. Let's start off with what 3 minutes.
Trudeau, Von, that little troll that runs the EU. They're all celebrating. They're like, yay, Hungary is finally going to join the EU.
Hey,
and I was, wait a minute, who did they elect? They elected a guy who shits his pants because he's such a huge alcoholic that he used to beat his wife and kids, whips out his ding dong in front of their children, and microwaved a puppy in front of his entire family. Congratulations, Hungary, for being retarded. Oh my gosh. It's like you look to Canada and the rest of Europe and you're like, hold my beer, watch this. If you don't believe me, let me just show you. This book is written by the ex-wife of the new leader of Hungary, and it's called 16 Years with a Monster. He, in front of the children, and then one of our puppies in the microwave right in front of our eyes, and the children needed psychological help afterwards. The kids in question, the puppies in question, and a video of him shitting his pants in a church because he's so drunk because he's an alcoholic. Congratulations, Hungary. So let me get this straight. You look to Germany, who right now is tabling a bill to basically ban conservatives from buying homes. I'm not even kidding. The Nazis are coming. Oh, no, wait, they never left. They just changed their flags from like brown and gold to rainbow colors and called themselves liberals. New proposal include granting local authorities the right to stop individuals deemed anti-constitutional from purchasing real estate in their municipalities. And if you're like, how are they going to do that? Oh, don't worry. The Nazis already have a call line. And in that call line, they're going to be like, are you hiding the unvaccinated in your floorboards? Just kidding. They're going through all your social media posts. And if you have said something like, hey, you guys are a bunch of liars, apparently that's deemed anti-constitutional because, fuck free speech. It's Germany. It's Nazi land. And the liberals are ruling, which are the Nazis. So, yeah, isn't that awesome? Oh, but it gets even better because in London, their mayor, sad little Dick Khan, has decided instead of banning SUVs, because apparently they're causing a safety issue, he's just going to charge people more for having SUVs. London Mayor, sad little Dick Khan, is considering charging SUV drivers in the capital after Transportation for London research claimed they created intensifying risks across London. SUVs dangerous? Muslim gang rapes? Fine. And Hungary looked at this and went, yeah, seems good, right? Congratulations. RIP Hungary, though.
Investigation. Hey. Here exclusively to tell her stories of Anna Hernandez, TPU.
The next one's only a minute. A map of Canada. That is they're saying it's someone built a map that shows exactly where every power plant, transmission line, substation, and data center sites are on a grid. So that was that one. Let's see here. Okay, I got an 8-minute one on Florida. Somebody got arrested in Florida.
National average savings.
You step out. Turn around and face away from us. Go down to your knees. Do it now.
You want me to go hands?
Go ahead, please. Nobody move.
So this is a real body cam footage of a man running for governor, being arrested after a violent domestic incident. Someone with history of domestic abuse running for governor and now facing new charges of domestic abuse. It just doesn't make any sense. Good afternoon, beautiful people, and welcome to Nelly Miranda.
Is this lady all right?
As always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, so 46-year-old Florida gubernatorial candidate Kevin Cichowski was arrested after deputies say that he attacked 2 elderly victims inside a home. Investigators say that he allegedly hit one victim with a cane and threw a cell phone at the other one, both of whom are over the age of 65 years old. One of the victims called 911, claiming he threatened to kill them and even law enforcement if they showed up.
Away from us. Go down to your knees. Do it now.
Well, a man currently running for Florida governor, has been arrested. And take a look. This is body cam video from Friday from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. It shows deputies arresting Kevin Cichowski after one of the victims called 911, saying he hit them and threatened to kill them. According to the 911 call, Cichowski hit one of the victims with a cane and the other with a cell phone and allegedly had a gun. Both victims, who are elderly, were found hiding in the bedroom since one of them is bedridden. And this is Cichowski's mugshot. He was arrested for several charges, including aggravated assault and battery with a deadly weapon, as well as 2 counts of battery on a person over 65. He was previously arrested in 2024 for domestic battery by strangulation, and false imprisonment.
Kevin Cichowski may not love our elder population, but I do. So that's why I want to tell you about Chapter. So many seniors on Medicaid are actually on a plan that is not the best plan for their needs. There are so many different plans, coverage, and cost, and I'm sure you guys try to do your research, but the government websites are so confusing. For only 20 minutes of your day, Chapter will walk you through all of your options and make sure that you are getting...
Sorry about that one, you guys. Okay, let's get...
Bring Michigan proper.
About 10 minutes, Benny.
We have to save him. Get him back. God. We didn't get him. We transported his fart.
Eric Swalwell's disastrous nightmare downfall needs to be studied, starting with the frosted tips here. And the red flags were everywhere in 1999 when Eric Swalwell told the world in his high school yearbook, quote, "When you can't have it, you must take it." And here's Eric Swalwell taking it from a sex worker while being filmed. Somebody underage. That's what Anna Paulina Luna says. There were underage women in that video. She's seen the whole thing, and Eric Swalwell may end up in jail. Eric Swalwell, of course, one of those guys who was constantly moralizing and was constantly virtue signaling that he was better than you in the Epstein saga.
Of a little girl to care about the women who were exploited in this case. Everyone is sickened by it. I am a father of a little girl, and my promise to the victims is I will do everything along with my colleagues on the Democratic side to seek justice in this case.
Oh, yeah? Really? Are you going to seek justice here? Was she exploited? Anna Paulina Luna again says that these are underage.
More stuff is going to be dropping in the next 24 hours. And then also potentially the individual that recorded that video in that hotel room, Jesse, was a female and she was underage.
Well, that'll lead you to criminal charges, and that's exactly what's happening. Actually, the Manhattan DA launches investigation into sexual assault. Eric Swalwell. Now, all of the victims are coming forward. They said that this was a known thing that Eric Swalwell did. 50 of his staff members signed a letter saying that he was a monster. What took him so long? I don't know. The victims of Swalwell came forward. CBS interview on Tuesday morning. 4 women accused Swalwell of sexual misconduct, including a rape, sexual assault, unsolicited messages and photos. And they all told CBS that they want him locked up. They want him locked away so that he can't ever harm a woman again. He should face consequences. Well, what does that mean exactly? Yeah, she added very clear what a connotation. She now finds herself thinking about how lucky I was that I didn't go to the hotel, but somebody did go to the hotel just out moments ago. New victim says that she was roofied by Eric Swalwell. And after he drugged her, she was drugged up to a hotel room and not good. I did not consent to any sexual activity. He was married at the time. His wife was pregnant. And I was incapacitated after Eric Swalwell drugged me. This is the new breaking allegation against Eric Swalwell. So this was like obviously something that everyone knew. Look at Eric Swalwell, like completely blitzed out of his mind, like clearly on drugs. Here, blackout drunk at a yacht, on a yacht party. And there you go, yacht party in international waters, right? Where all the best things happen. Anyway, Eric Swalwell was clearly known by everyone for this behavior. This was a known secret. Every single member of the media, every single member of the Democrat Party, and they have to answer for it. Nancy Pelosi does not want to answer for it. Believe all women. Ooh, baby. This is like worse than Epstein. And the reason why I would say that is because while I don't know where Jeffrey Epstein got his money, what Eric Swalwell is doing is all taxpayer funded, obviously.
Some Republicans and others are saying that Democrats turned kind of a blind eye, that they knew what he was up to.
No, that's not true. That is absolutely positive. And it's true that they may say that, but it is absolutely not true.
You had no idea.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I had none whatsoever.
What happens in California now? He was in many of the polls.
Put him on the Intel committee, lady.
Yes, he was.
That's gone. There's an army of candidates out there. And California has this quirky law, because it's ranked primaries, right? Where you could end up with 2 Republicans on the ballot.
Well, it is.
How does that?
I agree that it is a quirky law. I do not agree that there'll be 2 Republicans at the top.
Dude, okay, first off, Pelosi's looking. Look at this. Pelosi's looking just absolutely miserable. Holy moly. Just what a life of wickedness and corruption gets you. Pelosi has done the exact same thing that she did to Biden to Swalwell. Apparently, Swalwell wasn't going to drop out of the race until she got a phone call from Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi on Swalwell exiting the governor's race, it was his decision. Pelosi on Biden exiting the presidential race, it was his decision.
I wanted him to assure the public that he could serve the term. They didn't agree with that, and so he then decided to step aside. It was his decision.
Did you tell him to resign?
Oh, I think that was his decision. I think it's a smart decision.
The right
to
thing
make.
to do?
Yes, the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I'm sure that's how it happened. They all knew. This is believable as Nancy Pelosi being the most successful investor in American history by sheer coincidence. Kind of how nobody knew about Pelosi's insider trading. That's right. Eric Swalwell credits his mentor Nancy Pelosi with teaching him how to wield power. Pelosi was cautioned about Swalwell by the FBI after his relationship with a Chinese spy came to light. Pelosi ignored the warnings and instead put Swalwell into positions of
policy
power.
On my third term. And so I learned like up front and center with her, how to like work the caucus and wield power. I mean, 'cause she knew how to flex.
3 minutes.
Join Planet Fitness for 1 cent down, $15 a month. No commitment. Deal extended to April 16th.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed.
Eric Swalwell working the caucus and wielding power. Is this what Pelosi taught you? Hakeem Jeffries, also in a panic, literally picks up and runs when asked about Eric Swalwell.
Swalwell to resign. Did you push Swalwell to resign?
Member conversations that I've had will remain private.
Why did you call for him publicly to resign, given these allegations?
We've made the right decision.
And what about Trifolis McCormick? Should she resign?
Thank you, everyone.
Literally ran away like a scared little girl. There he goes. Such cowards. All they did was bang on and on and on and on and on about Epstein. Now they have like an Epstein that they all covered up in their ranks. That was taxpayer funded. They all knew about him. And they've done nothing. Hakeem Jeffries spent over a minute praising the character and integrity of his good friend Eric Swalwell.
Congress, Eric Swalwell, who's both a friend and a classmate, has been a champion for the rule of law, a champion of accountability.
House GOP leaders asked Pelosi to remove Swalwell from Intelligence Committee. Of course, she didn't. She loved him. They loved him when they defended him. When he was giving him power, they loved him. When he was a good little soldier, they loved him. It was only when he was going to lose them the California governor's race, because of this, if he is the general election candidate after the jungle primary, that would no doubt have a Republican versus a Democrat in California, then he would have lost them that critical state's governor's seat. And so you just gut him, just like they did to Joe Biden. It's the same thing. Billionaire has kicked Eric Swalwell out of his $26 million Beverly Hills mansion after multiple sexual assaults.
Blown away. Billionaire Stephen Klubeck, once a major donor and supporter of Eric Swalwell, now publicly turning on him with rage. Mad amid sexual assault allegations.
I am no longer a Democrat. I'm now a libertarian Republican, because that's what a blue dog Democrat used to be.
A lot has been said about me today through anonymous allegations.
Swalwell posting this video Friday from Klubeck's Beverly Hills.
Ladies and gentlemen. He used the guy's mansion in order to post the video. Bad news, ladies and gentlemen. Bad news. For libs, John Hamm and Robert De Niro met Swalwell and thought this is the guy. Reminder that actors are their elf, Robert De Niro. Fun little tie-in. I'll make fun of that guy.
Okay, that was the first spinning video. I got a 4-minute one.
Atkinson for treason. Published by Real Raw News. The U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps on Friday arrested former Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, ISIG, Michael Atkinson, a Trump appointee whose responsibilities entailed independent and objective audits, investigations, inspections, and reviews to promote economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and integration across the intelligence community. But in 2023, his name appeared in Kash Patel's Government Gangsters book, in which the FBI director named 63 people suspected of being agents of the deep state. Atkinson's inclusion in Patel's book stems from Patel's assertion that Atkinson in 2020 fabricated a whistleblower's complaint that President Trump had pressured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate Joe and Hunter Biden. Atkinson determined the complaint was credible and urgent, then forwarded it to Congress as required by law, and the disclosure helped trigger the first impeachment inquiry against Trump. But the whistleblower was a boogeyman, a figment of Atkinson's imagination. After Democratic lawmakers failed to produce the whistleblower at a House oversight hearing, Trump fired Atkinson in April 2020, citing loss of confidence. At the time, Trump found out that Atkinson had been meeting clandestinely with Joe and Hunter Biden, and logically deduced that Atkinson was a DNC operative working to undermine his credibility and 2020 campaign. Toward the end of that year, Trump and Acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen authored an indictment charging Atkinson with treason and other high crimes and misdemeanors. Prior to leaving Washington for his Mar-a-Lago command center in January 2021, President Trump tasked JAG with enforcing justice. His file was only one in a sea of tens of thousands that JAG had to systematically work through. In March this year, a JAG source told Real Raw News, Staff Judge Advocate Major General David Bly unsealed Atkinson's indictment and issued a military arrest warrant. However, JAG had difficulty finding the traitor. He owned homes in D.C. and in Alexandria, Virginia, but JAG surveillance teams were unable to find him at either location. Atkinson had converted the domiciles into Airbnb rentals. Posing as out-of-towners in need of a weekend room, JAG agents booked Atkinson's Virginia Airbnb for April 10 to 12. They found the key but pretended that they had not and called the phone number to bitch and moan about having no access to a unit they'd paid for. The agents, a male and female officer masquerading as newlyweds, hoped Atkinson would show up to resolve the missing key problem. While they stood on the porch awaiting the respondent's arrival, 3 more JAG investigators lurked behind bushes and dense foliage near the front yard. At 9:15 p.m., a silver Mercedes with only one occupant, the driver, pulled into the driveway, and when he exited the car, the JAG agents identified him as Michael Atkinson. The man and woman couple approached him, telling Atkinson they had spent an hour scouring for the key. An apologetic Atkinson told the JAG couple that his cleaning crew must have forgotten to put the key under the plant and said he'd refund them 20% of the cost for the inconvenience. That's generous, but we don't need a refund. We just need you to get on your knees and place your hands behind your back. You are under arrest for suspicion of treason, the male agent told a shivering Atkinson. You are under arrest for treason against President Donald Trump, the female agent barked, reading his rights while Atkinson stammered denials, his face pale with fear. You're fucked, the male agent said frostily. We're not alone. Inky figures materialized from behind shrubbery, encircling Atkinson, who murmured, So, this is what it's come to. Per our source, Atkinson was taken against his will to a military processing center in D.C. Like all deep staters, he's going to get a fairly fair trial at Gitmo, our source said.
Okay. Got that one off of News Force. They get those all the time. All right. See what the next one is. Did anybody catch this one? 3.5 minutes.
It's a story that is bizarre on so many levels. In fact, there are now at least 9 missing and dead scientists across the United States. Now, in a country of 350 million people, why is that strange? Well, because all 9 of these scientists are elite researchers, many connected to NASA, nuclear programs, and advanced defense technology, and they have all either vanished or turned up dead. Now, at first glance, we'll be honest, these cases could seem unrelated, and maybe they are. They're taking place in different states, under different circumstances. Some have already been labeled accidents. But when you start to look closely at this, a pattern begins to emerge. See, these are not ordinary people. They're individuals working at the front lines of science, space exploration, nuclear systems, advanced materials, highly sensitive government-funded programs, fields where information isn't just important, it's strategic. And one by one, something is happening to them. Monica Reza, a materials scientist connected to NASA-backed projects, she vanished during a hike in California. She was experienced, she was prepared, but still, after months of searching, she has not turned up. Then there's retired Air Force General William Neal McCaslin, a former commander overseeing billions in classified research programs. He disappears from his New Mexico home, no signs of forced entry, no struggle. He's just gone. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Reza and McCaslin, they shared a professional connection linked to advanced materials research with aerospace and military applications. Maybe it's still a coincidence. Maybe. But then there are the deaths. Astrophysicist Carl Grillmeyer, shot and killed at his home. MIT fusion scientist Nuno Loureiro was also shot in what authorities called a targeted incident. NASA scientist Frank Maiwad, dead, and no publicly released cause. Jason Thomas, a pharmaceutical scientist who was found in a lake months after going missing. Investigators say in that case, no foul play is suspected. Okay? So what's happening? Well, we don't really know, but when you step back and you look at all these cases together, again, 9 of them in just the past few months, you have to ask, how many coincidences become too many coincidences? Right now, this is all happening at a very specific moment in time, clearly, a moment of rapid scientific and geopolitical change. The U.S. just returned to the moon, well, kinda. Space programs elsewhere are expanding, and global tensions, as you know, they're raising fears of nuclear disaster. We are living in such an environment that scientific expertise is often viewed through both civilian and national security lenses. And if we're honest, more often national security than anything else. So we have to ask the question here. Are these scientists working in defense-adjacent fields considered strategic assets? And did that status expose them to pressure, recruitment, even covert action? Again, there's no evidence supporting such claims as these, right? The discussion, though, sits within a long history of scientists being tied to national power. Information is power, and many of these researchers were working directly at the edge of what we know is possible. Officials maintain there is no proven connection to these cases, but the question still hangs in the air.
So that was an important video. I thought that was a good. Lucy got somebody working on their window, so hopefully she'll get in soon. We got 3 minutes on her second video.
Shameful the way the human race has become lately. You know, years ago, we took pride in how we looked when we went out in public. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we thought the downfall was the pajamas. We thought that was bad. I'm going to tell you something. I just went in Walmart and I saw all of this in one trip. There was a lady in there. No, I'm sorry, not a lady. There was a female in there with her kids running around the store who had, have you ever seen a dog that had so many puppies that her nipples are that long? She's wearing no bra. Her breasts are down to past her knees. Her nipples are that long. No bra. The shirt is way down here in front of her kids, in front of God, everybody, flopping around Walmart like no care in the world, wearing her slippers that she can't pick her feet up, so she's sloshing through the store. I go around to the next aisle. I took a picture of this one, but I don't know if I should post it or not. Here's a guy jibber-jabbering, not speaking one bit of English. His pants are so far down that they are almost at the back of his knees. I'm not exaggerating. I have the picture. I'm tempted to post it, but I don't want to get my throat cut. His pants are down to his knees. He finally decides, after we go around an aisle or two, he finally decides to reach down and pull his pants up, which takes him 2.5 days to pull up because they're so far down. So then I go around the next corner. There's a lady. I swear before God, I'm not making this stuff up. I turn around. I had to look twice. This lady just got out of the salon chair when they put the dye on her hair. They're like, hey, oh, you said you want your hair dyed black? Okay, let's coat all this black stuff on your hair. We're going to pin it up, and then I want you to go shop for groceries at Walmart. This lady's walking through Walmart. She's got blue hair dye or black hair dye. It's almost blue. It's so black. All the way down her forehead, dripping down her neck. It's on her face. She just walk around smelling like hair dye. Not a fucking care in the world. Then I go to check out. And by the way, what is up with all these young mamas that don't know to put socks on their baby's feet, or at least put them in some kind of damn cover when you take them to the store and they're little bitty babies, but they're able to wobble and sit up. So you just set them in the buggy on that cold ass buggy. They ain't got a hat. They ain't got a damn shoe. And they're in a onesie with their little arms and their little legs. And it's freaking 3 degrees in Walmart. I have seen this so much. I mean, is it just Alabama that's like this? Where in the hell is the pride at around here? We are just so lost. It is absolutely.
Alabama. Well, Tim's not here yet. I got a video, Flying Eagle, about gold and silver, a 3-part one. Let me know if it's good to play or not.
In the next 48 hours, something is brewing in the global financial system that could wipe out an entire generation of traders who bet against silver. And the mainstream media is not saying a single word about it. I am talking about a combination of events that has never happened before in modern financial history. Events that are unfolding right now in Japan, in Germany, in the oil markets, and in the gold pits. Events that all point to one conclusion. Silver is about to do something that will shock the world. Now I know you have heard predictions like this before. I know you have been burned by people screaming about silver for years while it went nowhere. But what I am about to show you is different. This is not about hope. This is not about speculation. This is about cold, hard data that is flashing red right now. And if you're not paying attention to what is happening in the next 48 hours, you might miss the biggest wealth transfer in the precious metals market that any of us will ever see. Stay with me for the next few minutes because this could change everything. Welcome to the hidden economy. If you are new here, smash that subscribe button because I drop videos like this every single day. Now let me show you why the great silver wipeout is about to begin. Let me start with something that happened in Japan that almost nobody is talking about. The Japanese 10-year government bond yield just hit 2.47%. Now I know that number means nothing to most people, so let me put it in perspective. This is the highest yield on Japanese government bonds since 1997. Now let me say that again, 1997. That is almost 30 years ago. That is before most people watching this video were even thinking about investing. That is before the dot-com bubble, before 9/11, before the 2008 financial crisis, before COVID. For 3 decades, Japan has been the poster child for low interest rates. They invented the zero interest rate policy. They pioneered quantitative easing. They bought so many of their own bonds that the Bank of Japan now owns more than half of all Japanese government debt. They told us this was sustainable. They told us they had it under control. They told us modern monetary theory works and deficits do not matter. And now the bond market is breaking free. Now the market is calling their bluff. Look at this chart. From 1996 to 2020, Japanese yields collapsed from over 3% all the way down to negative territory. Yes, negative. Investors were literally paying the Japanese government to hold their money. That is how desperate people were for safety. That is how much faith they had in the system. But look at what happened after 2020. The yield exploded from basically 0 to 2.47%. That is a vertical move on a 30-year chart. That is not normal price action. That is not a gradual adjustment. That is a bond market that is screaming that something has fundamentally changed. That is a bond market that is losing faith in the central bank. And here is why this matters for silver. When bond yields spike like this, it means one of two things. Either the central bank loses control and lets the market set rates, which would cause a deflationary collapse as borrowing costs explode, or the central bank panics and starts printing even more money to buy bonds and push yields back down, which causes inflation to explode. Either way, the result is chaos. Either way, faith in the fiat currency system takes a massive hit. Either way, people start looking for alternatives to paper money. The Bank of Japan has already spent trillions trying to control their yield curve. They've been fighting this battle for years. They have intervened more aggressively than any central bank in history. And they are losing. The market is bigger than them. The market always wins eventually. And when the Bank of Japan finally admits defeat, when they finally let yields go, or when they print so much money that the yen collapses, what do you think happens to precious metals? They do not just go up, they go parabolic. If you are connecting the dots, drop a comment and tell me what you think happens when the Bank of Japan finally gives up. I want to hear your take on this. Now here is where it gets even crazier. Japan is not alone. This is not an isolated incident. This is a global bond market revolt. Let me show you what is happening in Germany. The German 10-year bond yield just hit 3.07%. That is just 2 basis points away from a 15-year high. Germany, the anchor of the European financial system, the country that was supposed to be the model of fiscal responsibility, the country that lectured Greece and Italy and Spain about their debt problems. Their bond yields are now at levels not seen since the global financial crisis. Look at this chart. German yields went negative in 2019. Investors were paying Germany to hold their money. The entire European bond market was built on the assumption that yields would stay low forever. Pension funds made investment decisions based on that assumption. Insurance companies structured their entire portfolios around that assumption. Banks leveraged up their bond holdings because
Okay, part 1, part 2.
yields have gone from negative 1% to positive 3%. That is a 4 percentage point swing. In the bond market, that is not a move. That is an earthquake. That is a complete repudiation of everything the financial establishment told us was true. Think about what this means for the trillions of dollars in bonds that were purchased at negative yields. Those bonds are now underwater, massively underwater. The institutions holding those bonds are sitting on catastrophic losses. And they cannot sell because if they sell, they realize the losses and their balance sheets collapse. Do you understand what is happening here? The 2 largest creditor nations in the world, Japan and Germany, are watching their bond markets break down at the same time. The 2 countries that were supposed to be the safest places to park money. The 2 countries that anchored the entire global fixed income market, both of them are cracking. This is not a coincidence. This is not a local problem. This is not a temporary blip. This is a global phenomenon that is telling us something very important about the state of the financial system. The era of free money is over. The era of zero interest rates is over. The era of infinite money printing without consequences is over. And when the bond markets break, what do central banks do? They print more money. They have no choice. They cannot let their bond markets collapse because that would destroy their banking systems, their pension funds, their entire financial infrastructure. So they print. And when they print, what happens to hard assets like silver? They explode. If you are loving this breakdown, hit that like button right now. It helps more people see this video and understand what is coming. Now, let me show you the third piece of evidence that almost nobody is talking about. And this one is going to blow your mind because it shows you just how broken the current system really is. This chart shows the United States crude oil rig count from 2021 to today. This is the Baker Hughes data, which is the gold standard for measuring drilling activity in America. Every week, they count how many rigs are actively drilling for oil. It is the most reliable indicator of future oil supply. Look at what happened. In 2022, the rig count peaked at around 627 rigs. Oil companies were drilling like crazy. Everyone was bullish on energy. The story was that America was going to become energy independent, that shale oil would save the world. But then something strange happened, something that defies all economic logic. Even as oil prices stayed high, even as geopolitical tensions escalated, even as the Strait of Hormuz crisis sent crude above $100 a barrel, the rig count collapsed from 627 rigs down to 411 rigs. That is a 35% decline. At the same time that oil prices were screaming higher, at the same time that the world was facing the worst energy crisis in 50 years. Let me make sure you understand how crazy this is. Oil is above $100 a barrel. There's a war in the Middle East. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. Iran is losing $150 million a day in oil revenue. China has stopped getting its Iranian oil shipments, and it gets worse. European airports are facing jet fuel shortages within 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The Financial Times reported that Europe could face severe shortages as soon as May if the Strait of Hormuz is not fully reopened. Airlines are already scrambling. United Airlines has scrapped red-eye flights and midweek flights to conserve fuel. Air France is charging business class passengers more to offset the fuel burden of their heavier seats. Korean Air declared a corporate emergency and told staff to cancel all non-essential travel. China, which is a refining powerhouse, has completely stopped exporting jet fuel so it can meet its own domestic needs. Airports across Asia, including in Vietnam and Myanmar, are already running out of supply. This is not a drill. This is not a simulation. This is happening right now in real time. And American oil companies are not drilling. They are sitting on their hands while the world burns. Why? Because they do not trust that oil prices will stay high. They have been burned before. They remember 2020 when oil went negative. They remember how fast prices can collapse when demand disappears. So they are refusing to invest in new production, even with oil above $100. Peter Bookvar called this perfectly. He said oil companies are unwilling to invest in additional rigs because they do not trust the price of oil will remain high.
One more part, guys.
And then he said something that should make every silver investor pay attention. He called this bearish mentality an excellent contrarian sign for the new bull market in oil. Now think about what this means. Oil supply is not coming. Demand is still there. Prices have nowhere to go but up. And when oil prices go up, what happens to inflation? It comes roaring back. And when inflation comes roaring back, what is the ultimate hedge? What has protected wealth for 5,000 years when currencies get debased and prices spiral out of control? Silver. But wait, they thought could not be more critical. Let me tell you what Fred Hickey said about the next 48 hours. Fred Hickey is one of the most respected gold analysts in the business. He has been studying precious metals for decades. He runs the High Tech Strategist newsletter, which has a cult following among serious investors. And he just made a statement that should have every silver investor on high alert. He said the next couple of days will be a major test for the gold market. Here is what he is watching. For the past few weeks, gold has been falling along with stocks. That is unusual. That is backwards. Gold is supposed to be a safe haven. When stocks fall, gold should rise. That is the whole point of owning gold. It is supposed to protect you when everything else is going down. But recently, they have been moving together. When stocks dump, gold dumps. When stocks rally, gold rallies. The correlation has been almost perfect, which makes no sense if you understand what gold is supposed to do in a portfolio. Hickey says this correlation is about to break, and here is the evidence he is looking at. The commitment of traders reports, which show what the big institutional players are doing, indicate that long gold positions are mostly washed out. The speculative longs have been flushed. The weak hands have sold. The people who bought gold hoping for a quick profit have given up and moved on. Open interest is at multi-year lows. That means there are fewer contracts outstanding than we have seen in years. The market has shrunk because so many people have exited their positions. Daily trading volumes have collapsed. Nobody wants to touch gold right now. It has become boring. It has become unloved. It has become the forgotten asset that nobody talks about at dinner parties anymore. And that, my friends, is exactly when the biggest moves happen. When everyone who wanted to sell has already sold, there's nobody left to push prices lower. When open interest is at rock bottom, it means the market is as washed out as it can possibly be. When trading volumes collapse, it means the next move will catch everyone off guard because nobody's paying attention. The market is cleansed. The weak hands are gone. The paper traders have been flushed out. And now gold is coiled like a spring, waiting for a catalyst, ready to break free from the stock market correlation and resume its bull market climb to higher highs. And that 48-hour window, that is the test. If gold can hold its ground or rally while stocks fall on the disappointing ceasefire news and oil prices climb, the correlation breaks. And once the correlation breaks, there's no telling how high gold can go. And here's the kicker that nobody's talking about, the part that makes this relevant for silver investors. When gold breaks out, what happens to silver? Silver does not just follow gold. Silver amplifies gold. Silver takes whatever gold does and multiplies it by 2 or 3 or sometimes even more. It is the leveraged play on the precious metals thesis without the decay of an actual leveraged ETF. In every major precious metals bull market in history, silver has outperformed gold by a wide margin, every single time, no exceptions. In the 1970s bull market, gold went up about 24 times from its low to its high. Silver went up 25 times, but from a much lower base, which means the percentage gains for silver were actually significantly higher than gold. In the 2000 to 2011 bull market, gold went up about 600% from its low around $250 to its high above $1,900. Silver went up over 900% from around $4 to almost $50. Silver nearly tripled the performance of gold. Why does this happen? Why does silver always outperform during precious metals bull markets? Because silver is a tiny market. The entire silver market is worth a fraction of the gold market. When money starts flowing into precious metals, it does not take much to move silver. A few $billion flowing into gold barely moves the needle. A few $1 billion flowing into silver creates absolute chaos. And right now, with Japan breaking, Germany breaking, oil supply collapsing, inflation returning, and gold about to pass its 48-hour test, we are setting up for exactly the kind of environment where silver goes absolutely vertical. Silver is gold on steroids. It is the leveraged play on monetary chaos. It is the way regular people can capture the same gains that used to be reserved for hedge funds and billionaires. And right now, with everything I have shown you today, silver is set up for the move of a lifetime. Now, let me connect all the dots for you, because this is where it gets really scary for anyone who is short silver. This is where you see why I called this video the biggest shock in history. We have Japanese bond yields at 30-year highs. The Bank of Japan will have to choose between letting their bond market collapse, which would destroy their banking system and pension funds, or printing trillions more yen to buy bonds, which would destroy the value of their currency. Either way, confidence in fiat currency takes another massive hit. Either way, the yen becomes a currency you do not want to hold. We have German bond yields at 15-year highs. The European Central Bank will have to choose between letting peripheral, but wait.
Okay, so that was for some people here in chat that wants to know things about that channel there. I don't normally play it. Tim wasn't here tonight. Okay, the next two was Q. That's two of them here.
To tax changes. Don't navigate.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q, and we are winning. Oh, I'm so glad to get this news today. If you guys watch this channel, you guys know that one thing that I absolutely detest is judges who attempt to create law. People who have not been elected, people who decide they want to affect policy and change policy and use their seat to try to hold back Donald Trump's agenda. It annoys me to no end. It's completely unconstitutional, and I absolutely hate it. And one of the worst offenders has been James Bosenberg, and he has done everything he can to try to hold up the Trump agenda. Things that if Obama, or things that if Biden had done, be no problem. Now, we know this to be the case because when Obama was shipping people over the border and deporting people, he still has deported far more people than Trump did. Bosenberg was mum, nothing, said not a word. But as soon as Trump starts doing it, now he's going to try to stop him. Trump was sending people back to Venezuela, people who were criminals, proven gang members, Tren de Aragua. I mean, this is a satanic gang, cult gang, that he's sending these people back. And Bosenberg says, turn the plane around. You can't get rid of these people. They need their day in court. What? Are you kidding me? They're not even citizens. How could they get their day in court? They're criminals. Get rid of them. But yet he would rather stand. He loves the criminals more than he actually loves his country. He hates Trump more than he hates criminal activity. As far as I'm concerned, that guy should not be a judge. Well, today he got his just desserts and he gets slapped down by the D.C. Court of Appeals. 2-1 vote. Both Trump-appointed judges shot him down, said that he had to end his inquiry into the Trump contempt case that he was presiding over. He decided to launch a contempt investigation, Bosenberg did, on Donald Trump simply because Donald Trump says, I'm not turning the plane around and I'm not going back to pick up criminals that we already got out of our country. You can go and kick rocks. And Bosenberg could not take it. His poor little ego was not going to be undone. And so he decided he was going to try to hold Trump criminally in contempt because of it. And the DC Court of Appeals shot him down and says, end it now. You will not investigate the president anymore. You will not attempt to hold him in contempt. And they slapped him down, and it was delicious. Oh, my goodness. I am so excited because I want every last one of these judges to be slapped down by higher courts because they must be put in their place. And then on top of that, Trump fired 6 more immigration judges this week. So we are seeing these judges, these activist judges that are attempting to legislate from the bench. We are seeing them get their just rewards and be put in their place. Look, if they want to be lawmakers, then run. But they know they could never win anything. And so therefore, they attempt to abuse their seats. So I'm excited. We're winning. They're losing. And I am definitely on a high right now because of it. Let me know what you guys think about this.
Did anybody catch those 2 clips of Rudy on YouTube there? I got 2 clips. I got to get the second one of Q. And then we got to play Carrie Cassidy.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q, and we are winning. Oh, I'm so glad to get this news today. If you guys watch this channel, you guys know that one thing that I absolutely detest is judges who attempt to create law. People who have not been elected, people who decide.
Hang on, that was...
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. So the Democrats are clamoring right now because they just lost something that means everything to them. What is it? It's power. They just lost a very valuable seat in the House of Representatives. They lost the seat because, well, the congressman, the representative, was a criminal, is a criminal. I'm talking about Eric Swalwell. Now, the interesting part about it is that most of these politicians care nothing about people. They only care about power. It has nothing to do with the allegations of impropriety. It has nothing to do with the shock that he was a predator. It has nothing to do with those things. It has everything to do with he makes them look bad. And so therefore they must scatter like roaches when the lights come on. They must throw him under the bus, sacrifice him for the brand, and make it look as though they truly stand with all women. And they might stand with all women, liberal women at that sometimes, but they certainly don't stand with America. They don't stand with the country. And I'm not making statements just for the sake of making statements, inflammatory statements. I am speaking 100% truth. And I'll explain this why. Because the Democrats all knew that Eric Swalwell was having an inappropriate relationship with Fang Fang. You guys remember the story. Fang Fang, the woman, the Chinese spy, the woman who was sent to use Eric Swalwell while he had a very, very important seat on a committee, and was sent to get close to Eric Swalwell because they knew that because he was a deviant that he would be an easy mark. And so Fang Fang got close to Eric Swalwell, and then it came out that she was a spy after they had their affair and all these things. And so the Democratic Party knew about this. Now, if someone were literally sleeping with the enemy, if you knew that this man had a powerful intelligence position on a committee seat, you would expect that he resign immediately at that point. You know how you avoid having these types of
did you
issues?
listen to those
How about
clips?
staying with your wife? How about not having extramarital affairs? How about just be faithful to the woman that you made a vow to? This might offend some people, but I don't care. At the end of the day, if a man cannot keep his vow to his wife, how do I expect him to keep his vow to the country? If you can't keep a vow you made before God to your wife, then how can you then keep your vow to your country? I'm just being honest. How else am I supposed to look at that? So why are we all surprised? Well, I'm not surprised. You guys aren't surprised. But why are the Dems acting like all of a sudden they're surprised? They're clutching their pearls. They're shocked that this man has done this. Well, as far as I'm concerned, nobody's shocked about this. I'm not shocked about it. Not shocked at all. Because at the end of the day, we know that this man was a creep. We know that he was literally sleeping with a Chinese spy, and no one said a word. So as far as I'm concerned, the Democrats have zero moral high ground as it pertains to this, because they knew there was a problem and they didn't deal with it. But I am glad of the one thing, that they have lost this seat, which actually helps our majority in the House of Representatives. You guys, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think that they're actually...
Okay, we got those two in. I'm going to go ahead and do Carrie's video. And then we still got a full hour of short videos to share. So let me know how this video goes with Carrie. Hang on a sec. Yeah, that's the best I can get this guy. Let me know, see how this goes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I want to talk about my recent article because I guess it's very, this whole story is a huge investigation, and I wanted to sort of go into my takes on it. And I realized that people reading my article are not necessarily understanding or getting all the points. So I thought I would go into it. Now I do have it here on, I'll bring it on the screen briefly to show you. So this is the article, and it's, the title is Too Valuable to Kill. And it's obviously, so let me click on it so we can get the whole thing. Disappearance of Major General McCasland and the cover-up. And this has been updated a few times, and it is all about, I believe, actually reverse engineering UFOs, plasma fusion. Bob Lazar factors into it, as he's been involved in this sector for a very long time. And then we have this UFO that is, this is a alien reproduction vehicle is what they called it originally. Okay, and I'll just bring up this article that someone wrote kind of recently. That's Mark McCandlish, and there's his ARV, which stands for Alien Reproduction Vehicle, but then later they called it by other names. I guess Fluxliner, somebody named it that. I'm not sure if Mark actually did. Anyway, he supposedly shot himself with a shotgun. And that's actually, a lie. So he was murdered. He had volunteered to come forward to speak at or to give testimony at the UAP hearing, one of them, and got in contact with Marco Rubio.
So far, so
and
good.
And then he was killed. So I don't think it's a coincidence that he came forward and then suddenly he was killed. But at any rate, he'd been out on the scene for a very long time and is quite famous for magazine covers. So Mark McCandlish was a celebrated aerospace illustrator for defense contractors like Rockwell and Boeing. And he gained notoriety in the UFO community for designing and for having inside knowledge of secret government programs. And that's the flux liner on my cover for this article. So you can go to my website, projectcamelotportal.com, and go to the top and margin near the top, and it'll say all my social media, and Substack is one of them. That way you'll find this article. So anyway, I just want to say that this article
Everybody likes her.
So I start my article out by talking about this interview with Ross Colbart, and he's talking about the disappearance of McCasland, General McCasland, who was heavily involved in UFOs and possibly reverse engineering. Also, supposedly knew something important about Roswell. And he also was head of this very secret program. Now, the beginning of this article is focusing on how Ross Coulthart, who is a very well-known UFO investigative journalist from Australia, talks about Tom DeLonge and the fact that McCasland was apparently talking with Tom DeLonge. But then in the interview, neither he or the interview really know much or talk much about who Tom DeLonge really is. So Tom DeLonge is, yes, he's a musician, well known, but he got involved in this secret group called To the Stars Academy that also had a public face and involved top scientists and I guess you might say, intelligence officers. And they all got together and created this thing called To the Stars Academy a few years ago, actually several years ago, and were quite well known. Now, the reason that matters is because the reason McCasland was talking to Tom DeLonge is quite possibly because he was in touch with the whole group. And that would include a very famous physicist called Hal Puthoff, who in some ways one might say is the leader of that group. And I also want to say that Lou Elizondo was also involved in that group. So this is key information if you begin to put the story together, because what it looks like, according to my source, who is a source that said that a rogue, he called it a rogue group of the CIA. I think it's a group from the Secret Space Program, SSP for short, and that he basically was in communication with this group and possibly disclosing secrets. So I think that they think he was violating his Security Act by taking information about this technology to that group via Tom DeLonge, who's one of the leaders of the group. So that's why it matters. And none of that is mentioned in this video that was an interview with Ross Coulthart by, and I think I can start this.
Pretty News Nation YouTube viewers, I'm super.
News Nation. Okay, so.
But he had no hit their ring camps, and Ross is an advocate
of the US Air Force's research group.
So the trouble is that when people watch the video, they aren't the wiser as to why that he was even mentioned in the video. So we're really talking about a violation of national security if that actually happened, although I think that's unlikely. So you have to understand how the secret space program works and how our government, and a lot of it is a secret government, works. If you're violating a security oath, then they're gonna actually take you and interrogate you. Okay, so this is key in understanding this story. Now, hold on. Just go through my article and read some of it and talk about it. So I say that this video is annoying because Ross Coulthart, he doesn't seem to realize that Tom DeLonge is actually part of a very high-level group called To the Stars Academy. And yet I know he's interviewed Lou Elizondo at the very least. So I think he is familiar with that group, but he tries to make it either purposely or inadvertently focused on Tom DeLonge as a rock star instead of focusing on To the Stars Academy, which is the very important organization that Tom DeLonge started and is part of. And that involves a group of very heavy hitters, a top physicist called Hal Puthoff, Jim Semivan, Vice President of Operations, Senior Intelligence Officer with the CIA's Directorate of Operations. That's, I think, his past job. Puthoff is Vice President of Science and Technology, a quantum physicist, and a former researcher for the NSA, advisor to NASA. Steve Justice, a former director of advanced system at Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, served as a COO for aerospace. Louis Elizondo, former director of global security and special programs, previously oversaw the Pentagon's ATIP program. Chris Mellon, a former deputy assistant secretary of defense for intelligence. And then there are others involved, including Commander David Fravor, who testified at the UAP hearings. So, and there's a bit more about that as well. So this group is anything but insignificant. And if this McCasland was communicating with them, they were understandably, and I believe this is rogue group of CAA was my source's label for it, but I think it's actually a group that is probably from the SSP, the Secret Space Program. And they may still have him and may still be holding him. In fact, they may never let him out. I think, just to cut to the chase, that these so-called deaths of scientists who may all be in related fields, part of this large organization that is part of the Secret Space Program, I believe that their deaths are being faked and they are being moved to either, as we say, to go black and underground projects and or cities, and also possibly to go off planet, because that is what the Secret Space Program is doing. So if you look at the list, now there's 2 more added. So this list that I have on my website article, which I will update because there are 2 more scientists that have now been found to be dead or missing. So this list is growing. So that's 8 apparently as of now. So we have Tim Burkett, who is the congressman who's quite active in the disclosure, a member of Congress, very well respected, who is part of, with Luna, a group that is specific.
Everybody okay so far with Carrie?
Heading up these UAP hearings and also quite involved in disclosure. So he said, I guess he testified before Congress saying something dark is going on. He is not suicidal. That's just a way of saying, if you find me dead, I didn't kill myself. That means he feels he's in danger. So then you get William McCausland, the retired Air Force Major General, missing since February 27th, wearing his boots. He took off with his, I guess, wearing boots, carrying a .38 revolver, and there's no trace of him, according to the FBI. Monica Riza, aerospace materials scientist, vanished in the Los Angeles National Forest. She is still missing as of 2025. And this doesn't even say who these people, what they were really involved in, but they were working with McCausland. So at some point, and this Nuno Lorio, MIT fusion physicist, shot dead at home, December of 2025. That's fairly recent. Carl Grillmar, Caltech astrophysicist, shot dead February 26, 2026. And Jason Thomas, Novartis chemical biologist, body found in a Massachusetts lake, March 2026. And no law enforcement agencies officially connecting those cases. And this was a post by, I think his name is Benny, a well-known podcaster, journalist. And then basically they said, I recopied the information from the post just to make sure that it was clear. And this group seems to be heavily involved in UFOs, reverse engineering. This is Tom DeLonge. This is a photo of Tom DeLonge. Here's a photo of Burkett, the congressman. And here are what I'm calling the usual suspects. I guess someone else, no, I made this slide and actually put this picture in here as part of a presentation I did years ago. Hal Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff, Dr. Eric Davis, and Lou Elizondo. They've worked together heavily over the past few years. I wouldn't be surprised if they were still working together, although Lou Elizondo just recently had a freak accident, which I'm going to talk about. I don't know if it's included in this article, but it's very important. But anyway, so what happens is, and let me say that you can go to my Telegram, and I cover everything. I do commentary on everything, a lot of the very important things I'm researching. And so you can go there to also get my comments on this. So McCasland, again, was picked up by this group, supposedly CIA, and being interrogated for possibly violating his security oath by communicating with Tom DeLonge and probably other members of the To the Stars Academy. Then there's someone on X called Money Penny, who seems quite astute, and she focused on the plasma scientist, who is an MIT very high level scientist who was shot supposedly. And then right after that, Trump Media announced a deal with TAE, one of the 3 plasma companies, on the tipping point of breaking a story. And this is just amazing stuff that she came across. And you should watch the little video here. I don't know if it'll show up.
35
properly.
minutes left.
So there was a deal announced again with TAE, which is Trump and Trump Media.
9:30.
Or Trump Media. And and one of 3 plasma companies on the tipping point of breaking plasma fusion energy barriers and opening the floodgate to trillions of dollars. Now, plasma beings, she actually does speak about plasma as being possibly entities. And according to Captain Mark Richards, who I've interviewed over the period of 5 years, 12 times, and wrote and released 2 books about him. I'm now going to release my books because they were found to be having errors in the typing. The editing wasn't thorough enough, and so I'm just re-editing them to make sure I'm dotting my I's, crossing my T's, and make sure that the language, because it was all taken from an audio, is actually cleaned up and made more presentable. So 10 days after the murder, the Trump deal came. The U.S. government, DOE and DARPA, announced a fusion energy tenders went live with a $140 million deal signed with Standard Nuclear. I don't know if that's cut off, actually. And then the U.S. is currently at war with Iran. And it is a war for energy. So this is very front and center with everything else. So highly recommend you look on and go to read this stuff on X from her, Money Penny. She has other articles and she's, I think, on this case. So she's still investigating. And Ashton Forbes seems to have gone into a deep dive on exactly what McCasland's work is all about. So I've got that video embedded here. So we've got a circle of influence framework, fake death, clean egress. This is at my discussion with an AI where I was explaining my theory. My theory on portal tech and plasma energies engines without the oversight of surface Earth or political or an academic. So now we're going to go to my Telegram, where I talk about what happened to Lou Elizondo, because that is crucial, because he also has now been attacked in a very strange way. Apparently, he lives in a fairly rural area. He was driving back, I think it might have been at night, and he saw, I think, 3 deer on the road. To avoid them, he had to swerve his car, ended up having a sort of major accident and injuring himself in multiple ways. And all of that was put out there. And he did a video about what happened to him. So I'm going to see if I can find that video over here and show you. But this is my, I think here's the Lou Elizondo video. So I'll just pull this up here. And it's really a tragedy that Lou Elizondo has gone through hell, and obviously it continues, and they're targeting him. I think as a result of this link up that to the Stars Academy, of which he is a member, has made with this very top secret scientist, General McCasland, and possibly getting read in on some of the technology. We don't know that he violated his security oath. People don't normally do that because it's a very dangerous thing to do. But we are in a time of disclosure, and it's possible that that he was, brought in by the SSP. They're never going to tell you. They don't use the term secret space program. Even though we know secret space program exists, it's major. It's run by the United States. Our partners in it are Britain, the Five Eyes, and Russia. And not everyone in the Five Eyes is trusted, especially not Canada, from my understanding. However, I believe Australia is heavily involved as well. So what we're talking about is a situation where so I had published this article, and I have a contact out there, John Leonard Walson, who has done an investigation on this story, but from a completely different angle involving the British. He is British. He used to work for the Queen, and he is a surveillance expert, and he's also an expert at astronomy and has many huge telescopes, and can show you. I met him in person, interviewed him, and although it hasn't really been public, my interviews with him, but I've gotten to know him because he was a good friend of a friend of mine, and basically got his story, which is quite lengthy. Now, he has not, as far as I know, I don't think his story is publicly released. So I didn't include it I didn't link to it in my story here because I'm actually waiting for him to give me permission to link to his story. But his story involves the technology from a different direction, surveillance tech, and the war, and various planes that might be using this technology, and some kind of leak that might have happened. So I do recommend his investigation. It's fairly difficult and convoluted to read because it involves an AI. So he gets into a big discussion with an AI about his theory. But that inspired me because I saw that there were what I thought were possibly errors in his evaluation and analyzation of this McCasland story. So I decided to go ask the AI, from my point of view, what was really going on, and also tell it what I thought was going on and see what it would say. So that is on this Substack article that I posted. And I am saying, this is to start off that part where I basically say, I don't think that these scientists are being killed. I think they're too valuable to kill. I think their deaths are being faked. I think the SSP is taking them underground or off planet. And I really do think these people are unique. They will have incredible knowledge. They will be working on very secret technology, and you're just not going to kill them. So that would be too stupid. Or Now, I understand that the enemies, because the secret space program is split, so it is possible that the enemies, because one side is reptilian and one side is Pleiadian, as well as human, and they've been fighting over controlling our secret space program for many years, and this has all been reported and I guess documented behind the scenes by one of my top whistleblowers called William Tompkins, who also was, I guess, blowing the whistle, if you want to call it that, on Gaia TV for many seasons of interviews. I did a 3-hour in-depth interview with him, and along with me was Michael Schratta, an aerospace historian. So we both asked questions. It was mainly my interview, but Michael did ask some very good questions. So that's published on my website and on my Rumble and everywhere. So you can watch that interview, and I highly recommend it to understand the background of the secret space program and why I'm saying they're involved here, and McCaslin was in essence working for them. Now, and I think his colleagues probably were as well. So it's important to understand that within our aerospace community, the usual suspects, the top companies, all have secret divisions: Boeing, Lockheed Martin, you name it. So it's kind of a weird, and these are called unacknowledged special access programs. But there's also SAP, which is special access programs. But the unacknowledged special access programs are part of the secret space program. But they're embedded in our military industrial complex and also in the aerospace community and these well-known companies. So it's a very interesting, intricate network, I guess you might say. At any rate, I'm going to go back over here to this article. Okay, going back to this area to where I'm talking to the AI. So I preface it, now let me see. So I'm sharing this part. So I preface it by these comments, and it's a developing story. And then I add, what follows is a discussion inspired by a document shared by John Walson that is not yet included here, but it will be if he gives permission. And then what follows is my analysis in part of that document. So I analyzed his document and then started talking to the AI. And so I asked a question of the AI.
Love ya. We'll see you tomorrow.
I asked them to actually do something. I asked them to posit a scenario that incorporates these people and this particular scientist, the MIT plasma scientist, who was murdered in his own home, and the deal that was announced, and basically incorporate those things in order to explain the deal, so to speak. And I include a prior statement that came from the AI that involved this circle of influence entropy. I don't know why they call it entropy, frankly, but anyway, maybe because these scientists are dying out. I don't know. This monograph investigates statistically impossible clustering of fatalities, disappearances, and operational evaporations within the United States Department of Defense, DoD, NASA, and the Department of Energy research ecosystems between June 2025 and February 26, 4 primary technical anchors, meaning scientists that were working on technology that was key, spanning the Air Force Research Laboratory. These organizations, which are AFRL, Air Force Research Laboratory, NASA, JPL, Caltech, IPAC, and the Los Alamos National Laboratory were removed from public and professional record. This analysis posits that these events constitute a systematic decapitation of a specific vertical integration pipeline focused on infrared space domain awareness, SDA, and high thermal kinetic propulsion, meaning the fusion propulsion that plasma fusion physics that might be an engine in essence. Technical and how to say, okay, the technical ontology functional nodes in the MGRC stack. So when they say MGR stack, they're talking about the key players in the technology that have been involved in either being disappeared. And so these are capital letters for each of these individuals: McCasland, Grillmar. Okay, Grillmar. Anyway, these are what MRGC is standing for, and Cassius, I think, is the last one. So they call those people nodes in the MGRC stack, which might throw people off that are reading this and not thinking of humans as nodes necessarily the way that AI is.
Well, you guys, I got 32 minutes in. It's 55 minutes. I'm going to try to get these 15 short clips in I got. So maybe if you want me to save it for tomorrow, I'll save it for tomorrow. But that's too long. Sorry, you guys.
Eric Swalwell, or should I say former. A new accuser of Swalwell has come forward today with a disturbing account of what she alleges happened between her and Swalwell. Now, this encounter is said to have taken place in 2018, which, by the way, is when Eric Swalwell's wife was pregnant. And the story appears to only get worse from there. Wait until you hear why some are saying he could actually land behind bars. Also today, Zohran Mamdani is facing criticism after reports that his government-run grocery store plan has gone over initial projected budget estimates. Yeah, New York, you voted for this. And finally, President Trump delivers a major win for the American people that even NBC had to take a moment and celebrate on air. Let's dive in. Lots to get to today. Eric Swalwell is now under renewed scrutiny after a weekend of allegations and viral content that was circulating online. I'm sure a lot of you saw it. And just when it looked like the story might actually settle down, today brought a brand new bombshell development. A woman identified as Lana Drews has now come forward with a detailed account of what she alleges happened during an encounter that she says took place involving Swalwell just before a public political event. Now, before we get into all of that and what she's saying, I want to show you something from back in 2018. This was the same period referenced in those allegations. And at the time, Swalwell was one of the most vocal voices in Washington during the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation fight, just one day before the Senate hearing. Remember this? Yeah. Fast forward to today, and we have a woman identified as Lana Drews coming forward with what she alleges happened between her and Swalwell that same year. The same year he was preaching to the choir about Kavanaugh. That's not the only incident being discussed online involving Eric Swalwell. Over the weekend, a video began circulating on social media that appears to show him in a hotel setting kissing another woman with other individuals present, including someone who appears to be recording the scene. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has suggested the matter could be more serious than initially assumed, saying it may warrant closer scrutiny than some had initially expected. Swalwell has not publicly addressed these specific allegations in detail, and his general position has been to deny wrongdoing. Now, Lisa Bloom, the attorney supporting Ms. Drews, had a stern message for Swalwell today. Take a listen to this. According to Swalwell's own standards, anyone described as conducting threatening or intimidating behavior toward women should suffer consequences. More specifically, he has suggested penalties that could include revoking people's driver's license. He got one thing right. Real men don't intimidate women. And if any of these allegations prove to be true, maybe he should lose his license too. The story also starting to generate reactions from within his own political party. In fact, watch Congressman Ruben Gallego, a close colleague of Swalwell's, or at least until today, because he just threw him right under the bus. Oh, how quickly they all jumped ship. And all of a sudden, not a single Democrat. Bad news.
Okay, that was first one with her. I'm going to get those 2 interviews with Rudy. See if I can get those 2 in.
Sports Hub. So are you saying the Biden,
So
the Hillary
four.
Clinton, the 2020 election are all connected?
100%.
So say you were Attorney General tomorrow, what would you do in terms of bringing accountability, which is the one thing so many Republicans say to me, they lament?
I would put together, I wouldn't do a special prosecutor, but I'd do a special division. You know how you have the criminal division, the civil rights division, and this division, and that division. I do a division maybe of about 50 or 60 lawyers, and I'd put them on this, on what happened, get us the answer as to what happened in 2020, both with regard to one group would deal with the crimes against the United States, which they committed, and the other would deal
As
with
in
the
election, right? The election,
and let's get the answer to
and
it.
the cover up of Joe Biden's crimes,
Right.
right?
And we're either going to indict people, or we're going to explain to people why we can't, and we're going to create we're going to write history, like Churchill said. Whoever writes history makes history, right? And
So kind of a RICO case, conspiracy case, like you did against the 5 families.
Yeah, it's tailor-made for it. I mean, it's like every once in a while you go for a suit and you put it on and nothing has to be done. This is a suit, you just put your right in it.
And who are the top capos?
Well, I mean, I have a chart that goes back to probably 3 months after I first got the information. So I first got the information in November and December of 2019.
About Ukraine and
About
Biden.
and I'm talking to Shokin and the others in early. So by March, I put together an outline of the Point Man RICO case. The other 2 would have been China, which I knew enough about China then to be able to put it in the case. But I didn't have the solid evidence of that. That would have had to have. And also we had that 3.5 million very odd payment from Russia.
So are you saying the Biden,
So
the Hillary Clinton, the 2020 election are all connected?
100%. I think they started somewhere in, I think it all starts in, from the best that I have, it all starts somewhere in it all starts in Obama's office in the famous meeting in which they all either find out or make it clear they're aware of the fact that she's going to develop this false story, pay for it, and use it against Trump. And they're going to use it to defeat Trump.
Russia collusion.
Right. They're going to use it to defeat Trump. And then when it doesn't work, of course, who is it that says we have insurance?
Oh, yeah, Peter Strzok, the FBI.
Yeah. He comes to the conclusion we can't prove this now. Actually, he knows it's untrue. But he says he knows that they can. There's a lot more they can continue. And the other thing that's really
what do you guys think of this interview?
Ukraine played a very active role in it. It's not as if they were. When I say Ukraine, I don't mean the Ukrainian people. I love the Ukrainian people, but their political structure is horrible, and they were owned by the Democrats. One of the prosecutors there said, since 2014, we've been like a cash cow for the Democrat Party and a few of your people. I said, would you tell me who our people are? He said, he either said, I don't think I should, or I'm not sufficiently knowledgeable
You tried to get the Biden laptop to a senator. Are you able to tell me who that senator was? And I believe the senator said, I don't want to go against a fellow senator.
It's a little different. I tried to get the original information to a senator way back in January
A Republican
of
senator.
2019. I laid out the whole thing for him. Remember, those weren't just allegations. There had been some affidavits done.
And what did he say?
There were recordings done. He knew Biden real well. Didn't like him particularly, knew him real well. He said, I'm surprised because he's so stupid that he'd be involved in a plan as sophisticated as this. This is terrible. But I don't think the Senate would want to get involved. Not at this stage. It's too close to the election. Now, it wasn't too close to the election. It was a year.
Well, January 2019, Biden hadn't even announced.
Yeah. I delivered and put my report together before he announced for office. So when they would say I was trying to interfere with his being president, I never thought he'd be the nominee. But particularly when I saw this, I always questioned because he was showing signs of being senile. 2017, 2018. Now, hard to see. You have to understand, I've known Joe since 1980 or 81. First time I met him, a college classmate of his brought me to meet him. The college classmate.
You were the U.S. attorney?
I was the associate attorney general.
Right.
And he was on the Judiciary Committee, and my chief of staff had gone to law school with me in Syracuse. And he used to joke with me, and he used to say, you should move to a small state because you'd be a great senator. And you wouldn't have to do anything. Look, Joe Biden got elected. He's the stupidest guy in our law school class. But nice guy. He said, really nice guy.
Little did he know.
You got to get to know him. He's a really nice guy. But boy, don't get judgmental. I mean, he really is stupid. And then he told me about his cheating. I knew all about how he
plagiarism.
How he plagiarized twice. Some other stories that maybe are true or maybe are not. And then we went to meet him. And exactly right. I walked away thinking, this guy is, I actually thought of Joe Biden and all of this profoundly stupid. I mean, not just stupid.
He was cunning, though.
Yes. I guess, it's in order to get by, he had to be.
I think he likes being underestimated and he acts dumber than he is.
Could be. It could be. Yes, because there are times in which he'll say something very surprising. And you'll say, how did that dumb mind come up with that? But in any event, it was fun to say to people, he may be one of the dumbest men in America, not just in the Senate. Then I worked with him very, very closely on the Crime Act of 1996.
When he used to be tough on crime.
I wrote that in the Reagan administration. That piece of legislation was 8 years old and had gone through. It came out of the Attorney General's task force.
Okay, fine, Eagle. See you tomorrow.
That was appointed by Attorney General William French Smith under Trump, and I was in charge of it. And we wrote this report, which sometime you should get and read. It's really, if I were to give somebody what can you do about crime, you could. A couple of modifications, you could use that right now. It was really written by James Q. Wilson and George Kelling.
Broken windows
theory. But a number of the other theories too. Career criminal. Wilson was a genius and had a great understanding of society. He had both the academic ability and the street smarts. So that document became legislation. It never got passed under Reagan. It never got passed under Bush. Now Clinton comes in and Clinton wants to get it passed. And Clinton put me on a committee with 3 Democrat mayors, 3 Republican mayors. And I knew Schumer from New York. In fact, I had declined prosecution of him from the Eastern District of New York.
Oh, really?
In which I was told, you're going to regret this. Well, I thought it was a cheap case. It was a case involving his using his state legislative staff to help him run for Congress.
I started a business to give full clothes.
I got a second part. There's two parts.
Homicidal, insane, complete crazy maniacs that
Yeah.
not only kill you, they want to eat you.
Yeah.
25,000 prisoners. The other thing to understand about this group of Bidenistas, they're a very, very different kind of mix of illegal immigrants. These are disproportionately large number of criminals, and I'm afraid to say a disproportionately large number of perverts.
Pedophiles.
Yeah, pedophiles, women abusers, the cultures they come out of.
Was that deliberate, do you think? That's what Donald Trump seems to think. That
Well, I think it's deliberate on the part of Venezuela.
Maduro opened
Yeah, and I can't. Whoever was a disciple of Castro did what Castro did, and we have so little knowledge of history. It's terrible. This is what Castro did at the Mario boat lift. I mean, it's just a complete repeat. And Maduro is a disciple of
open
Guevara.
your jails and your mental institutions.
Jimmy Carter made a speech once. Fluffhead, right? Not thinking. Send me all of your people from Cuba. They belong here. Probably true. Castro said, okay, peanut farmer, here's what I'm going to do. Let's start off with the insane asylums for the homicidal, insane, completely crazy maniacs that not only kill you, they want to eat you. 25,000 prisoners. Smartly, because he was a lot smarter than Maduro, he mixed them in with 100,000 wonderful people.
Right.
It took a while to figure it out. It took a while to pick it up because everybody was so happy. The Cuban community, which was beloved at this point, right? The Cuban community is getting their people back. Isn't this wonderful? Oh, maybe Castro's softened. And then about 4 or 5 months later, Miami, which had been a quiet vacation town that Jackie Gleason made famous, all of a sudden it starts to lead America in murder. And then they start to take a look, and these people are from Cuba. And it's just the opposite. So I worked on that for 4 years, so I know the statistic. Basically, it's about 130,000 people. Literally 100,000 of the best people you're going to find, and 30,000 of the worst criminals.
So with the Biden, say 20 million that came in, 15, 20 million. That
that's not a bad
Biden
number.
allowed.
That could be the number.
So of that, what proportion do you think? Is it similar, like 30%, 25%?
When I looked at, because it is wrong to look at the arrest numbers. The arrest numbers in Minneapolis when they were publishing them all in series, but I would go through them all, and I did a sort of back of the envelope calculation that about 40% of the people they arrested had serious sexual assault crimes mixed in with everything else.
Second part of the interview.
So maybe that's disproportionate, but that's going to make up 20, 30%. I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least a third. If we're talking at least a third of we're talking about really serious criminals. If we're talking about people who violate the law, probably half. Maybe more. People shoplifting, driving without a license, driving without knowing how to drive.
Yes.
I mean, remember the city during the campaign? I think it was J.D. Vance was in Ohio.
Yep.
He located a city where he said that Haitian people were eating
cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
Eating the cats.
Teasing the cats and dogs. And that turned out not to be provable.
Right.
The city itself, though, was a disaster. They had to send the National Guard into the city because nobody could drive in the city. It was a large number of Haitian immigrants were sent there. The governor had a rule that he would just give illegals a driving license.
Because then they could vote.
Yeah, but you don't just give me a driver's license. I got to go take a test.
Yeah.
At least I'd find out if they don't have to put the car on. So literally in this town, they had about 8 months of casual. They had a terrible one on Christmas Eve. That Christmas, a woman, typical suburban home, she's putting out the trash in her driveway, and this car comes right up on the driveway, hits her, knocks over all the trash cans, basically squishes her under the car. The guy didn't know how to drive a car. He was teaching himself how to drive a car.
And look at the trucks, the semi-trailers that are driving on our freeways. And
so the governor vehemently denied the allegations about eating cats and stuff. But then all of a sudden he was very embarrassed because he had to send the National Guard in to take care of the traffic problems.
Right.
Now,
So really, you're talking about just in terms of criminals. If you're saying, say, 30% of sexual perverts, et cetera, rapists, murderers, 30%, we're talking about 5 to 7 million that Biden let in. And look at the obstruction when Donald Trump is trying to deport them. Look at the defamation of ICE. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with that?
I mean, that's why he the president and had to do a crash program on getting as many people out as quickly as possible. And think about that. By doing that and taking the heat for it, which he has, that also produced a lot of the voluntary.
Yes.
I mean,
so I think he's got 1.5 million out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot to get out. And that process only happens if they're frightened.
Yes. If
he just sat back and did the usual, we'll give you a parole date in 2032, and come back in 2032. No, the minute they start reading about, and in some ways, all this false, exaggerated publicity about ICE, which is horrible. The one good effect that it has, it really scares me. And I think that helped to produce a lot of the voluntary exits. Miranda, one of the reasons why people misunderstand the statistics is they leave a category out that has to contain millions of people. When I was in charge of the Immigration and Naturalization Service from 81 to 83, and it was a mini version of this. We had the Mario Bolif, we had the Haitian 100,000 a month that were coming in. We always divided illegals into 3 categories. Category number 1 is somebody that we have picked up, have all the records, and we've made a decision. And the decision we made almost uniformly in Biden's case was to let him in on this fake parole.
Yeah.
So they go before a judge. Judge says, okay, first available date, 2 years from now. Then they'd be turned over to immigration again, and immigration would say, almost give them choices. Would you like to stay in Texas? Would you like to go to New York? Would you like to go to Colorado? Would you like to go? And New York was a big choice because one of the mistakes that Mayor Adams made, which I think he realized was a mistake, very early on, he created like a very hospitable place for New York. They even gave
concierges meeting the buses.
These better accommodations for them than our homeless.
Yes.
Or worse than that.
Or than tourists.
Or veterans.
Yeah, much more.
Yeah. So New York became one of the prime cities. The silly governor of Colorado, I call him Governor Feliz Navidad because he appeared once singing Feliz Navidad looking like a complete jerk. And he actually ended up with a disproportionate number. He advertised. He was advertising for people. And so was Tampon Tim, advertising for people. So they tended to go to these places. And when they complain, they ask for them. I mean, they ask for these people.
Yeah.
So the government would send them. And then when Abbott and DeSantis came up with the great idea of disproportionately sending it to the sanctuary cities.
Night, Carol.
Which I think
tomorrow.
To people who are fair makes sense, right? We don't want them. You want them. Here they are. It's like when DeSantis sent them to Senator Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the most ingenious things. And I actually was shocked that they were gone in 24 hours. I thought at least they'd make
Pretend.
It's a pretty big place with a lot of places you could put these people. At least pretend. They threw them out like, we don't want, these people are brown. Get them out of here.
Tired of sifting through jobs?
I think I'm going to wrap it up. We got quite a bit of stuff out. That was a good interview, though. Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming in for today and tonight's show. And have a good night. Another day. Tomorrow's the 15th. And then they say the 17th might be a marker of the Titanic or something on the 17th. So we'll see what happened on that date. But we know the routine. They always say those timelines. One day at a time. Thanks much. Okay. And Lucy must have been busy tonight. And Tim, Carol, and Fine Eagle. And God bless them all. Remember, please hit the like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. Signing off for Taco Tuesday night. See you on a happy side of Wednesday, middle of the week already. Signing off, Chico Dude. We'll see you all tomorrow.